Hello, my dear ladies. I'm very, very happy to be with you today. And Loi, our alumna, MBA alumna, was kind enough to invite me and to give a lecture on leadership to you. I'm, of course, somebody who can talk about leadership because I am a leader already for 35 years. I'm a founding president of IEDC Bled School of Management, one of the most international business schools in the whole region. And if I say region, I mean from Italian border in Europe to Kazakhstan to Central Asia. In all these places, there are not so many foreign students in the schools as cool as it is in ours. I established that school, as you heard, 35 years ago. We celebrate 35th anniversary. And this year, I did it out of scratch, as many of you probably do something out of scratch. Then this Slovenia, small country, was still Republic of Yugoslavia. It was a socialist times. The word management was not really nicely to use it. And so we gave a name to the management school, IEDC, which means International Executive Development Center. So, and then 14 years ago later, we built a school in Bled at the beautiful lake of Bled, B-L-E-D. And that is, is Alpine Lake. And then we were already independent Slovenia, and we were, of course, allowed to use the word management. And this, in fact, management became a very, very, very fashionable, I have to say. So the first years of my profession was good because I was doing, especially the first years, because we were all the time in the newspapers and all the time we got a big attention because we did something new and we professionalized management. But why were not the former regimes liking this word management? Because we had self-management, which is also a great idea. I cannot say it's not. And self-management was something else than real management. Self-management was more, to be a president of the company was more a political function than a professional one. And you were chosen, not appointed by the supervisory board or something like that. So I was growing up in this period and I know both. And so I had to go through different crisis management, through different transformations. And then, now this school had, in the meantime, already 100 countries present, more people came from more than 100 countries, and we had something like 93,000 participants already from all over the world. If I say 100, that it is. But now I shall go on leadership. And of course, I'm also professor of leadership. And today I chose to talk about, firstly, some things about leadership and characteristic of a good leader and some changing paradigm. Then I shall tell you something about the skills that leaders should have, because what we see is that often leaders don't fail on finance, on accounting, on marketing. They fail on leading people. They fail on being a good team worker. They are not good team workers, or they fail because they don't know to manage time. And management time means manage priorities, and you can choose the wrong priorities in the wrong times. And of course, networking is very, very important. This is a skill, how connected you are in some environment with some different layers of people, functionaries, politicians, business people, etc. And especially for women, this characteristic is extremely important. That's why these are the skills, and I shall talk about that more than I would normally do. This is a beautiful lake of Bled. We are there behind where you see a little town. We are immediately on the lakeside. This is the island of Bled, where is a church, Catholic church, and 100 steps to this church. This is not an active church, it's more as a museum, and people are going there to ring the bell and to have 3 wishes. So many people come to marry there. And then you see behind the castle, which is more than 1,000 years old, and it's a museum in the castle, and people, when they marry on this lake, then they usually go up to the castle for a party. And on the other side, you see the 2 buildings. We have 4 buildings. You see 2 of our school. And if you see from here the balcony, then this is my balcony. There is my office and it's not mine, but this is the balcony that I use the most of time when I go there up to, to look to the lake, to rest for a second from the quite tough work. You know, the leaders, we are busy. I'm a typical, perhaps a little bit conservative leader that works day and night for the institution, which is not mine. There are 30 owners, business people who are, the companies who are owning this school. I'm just a manager and a leader, but I behave like it is mine because it is my baby. I made it by myself 35 years ago. So if you look to the leadership, what are the main characteristics? On the lowest level, you have to have the analytical skills. Analytical skills means analytical conceptual characteristics. That means that you have to know something about finance and accounting and marketing and production, and that means that, and then how to connect all this knowledge, you know. But this is first necessary on the lowest skill of the management, when you are still just dealing with this as a topic, you know, and not really as a human business, you know. And then we have the other one, and that is skills in the managerial processes. That means how to do the things, and this is communication skills. About that I shall not talk too much today because we don't have time. But I'm sure, and I suggest to you that you are getting some great professor on communications who will teach you, because from that depends a lot your success, you know. From all these skills that I shall mention now, negotiation skills, also valuation of people, how to evaluate people around you, and time management, setting up priorities. I shall, about these things, say later something more in details. And then you have personal characteristic to be a good leader, and that is energy. You must, you know, I am called Madame Energy, you know, Madam Energy, because I have a lot of energy. And I'm just, people say, where do you get from? I say, I get it from success. I get it from, you know, from being sure in myself. I get energy from believing in what I'm doing. I get energy from seeing some positive things. From everything I can get energy. So I'm in fact a happy person. And then completeness. You certainly heard of helicopter view. Helicopter view means that you are flying low enough to see the trees and high enough to see the wood in total. So it means that you have a feeling for totality and parts. And then that you are result oriented. You can find such a nice person, employ such a nice person, such a capable person, speaking some languages, knowing everything, you know, professional, etc. But when it comes to results, nothing. They don't provide the results. And then what can you do with them? You know, that's a big problem, this result orientation. And then creative. We are more and more in management schools talking about creativity, that we have to boost creativity, because the world is changing so much and so quickly that you need to be very creative to adjust, to invent, to reinvent, etc. So creativity is more important than ever. And that means broader thinking. That means also art and leadership. You know, we have all the school as an art gallery. I hope you can one day come to see me and to see the school and this beautiful art collection, which is not in one room, but in all the school. And because we want people to inspire, to be inspired, to be reflective, not only to learn, but to get more from such a management education. And then cultural flexibility. You have people who come from the village, you have people who come from the town, you have people who are poor, you have people who are rich, you have people who come from another country and they have other culture, other habits. So cultural flexibility to understand and to accept is extremely important for a leader, so that you don't have prejudices, that you, and religion, different religion, I may not forget to say that, you know. So all these things are very, very important to know, to be flexible concerning the cultures. Then team skills. You know, leaders as me, they are pretty lonely runners often, you know, and they are thinking I can do everything by myself. But it's not true. If you don't have a strong team behind who supports you, follow you, you know, have initiative, not only following, but following, you know, your followers. In that term, I mean it. So that's extremely important. The team skills, I shall also say some more word about that, because this is one of the most important skills that the leader should have. And you probably notice I make the difference between leaders and managers. Managers are people who know to budget, who know to count, who know to organize, and who know to control. And what are leaders having additionally? Leaders are the ones who are having a vision. Leaders are having charisma. Leaders are bringing us further, you know, and that's why it's good to have a manager who also is a leader, or a leader who is also a manager, because if you have an unorganized leader, is also for nothing. For myself, I think that I'm much more leader than a manager, but I also think that I learned through the practice to be a manager. But I like the role of leadership much more. And then personal charisma that I mentioned already, that means people also often ask me, what is charisma, charismatic leader? This means that you are inspiring others, that this is not something what you can learn, but you are getting it by intuition, you know, and how do you get intuition? You get intuition by practicing. By practice, you know, by working a long time in a certain area and in different areas, etc. So you are developing your intuition, your certain sense for something. You can expect what will happen in the future more than the others who are younger. And then the values, feeling what is right and what is wrong. The values are more and more important. And I can honestly tell you, I'm very proud of our school, because, you know, I told you we exist 35 years, but 30 years ago, we were one of the first management schools in the world to introduce ethics as a required subject. So values are, for me personally, and for my people in the school, and for our students, very important. And then you have a fourth layer of, you know, fourth, how shall I say, type of characteristics and of a successful manager, and that is knowing the industry, knowing the product, knowing the trends. That means that if you are a president of a company with textile, you know something about the textile. You know how it comes, how the textile comes from where, how much water it needs the textile to be produced, which is unbelievable. Water polluter, you know, the textile, the industry. That's why I like this very much, this fashion of eco design, and you know, and how do you say that? You know, to make the new dress out of an old one, etc. You understand what I mean, because you probably, some of you are doing that. And this can become also an interesting business product, you know, not only because of the values and etc. So these are the most important characteristics of the managers. And I can tell you that today the leaders and entrepreneurs have to cope with continuously changing environment and community. That's why you need more skills and more knowledge than in the past. They need to consciously create and influence changes to align business with social interest. Again, these ethical issues are becoming very important, and they need to become more creative and innovative to develop a vision that can inspire other people. That's very, very important, as I mentioned already before, creativity. And creativity boosts innovation. And like that it goes, like that it's rolling the world. And here it comes, art and science are increasingly seen as a mean to develop more creative and innovative leaders. And I shall also say something more about this art, you know. And then perhaps before that, what is the new leadership paradigm? It is that leader is not only looking for his or her own pocket, but for a better world. That leader has to be inspired, but has to be able to inspire others. That leader has to be farsighted, you know, to see tomorrow, to work with vision for today and for tomorrow. That leader has to have a vision, mission, strategy. That leader needs to cooperate, delegate, and communicate. You know, about delegation, we shall also, how do you delegate? We shall also talk a little bit in the next half an hour. And then develop leadership capacity to other people, of others, to help them to develop. This is what I always say, by the way, a little digression, you know, when people, younger women are asking me, how would you choose a boyfriend or husband? And I always say, I would choose him on the basis of the capacity to not to be jealous, to develop each other, to be together in the marriage that you are helping each other to grow, and not, you know, not just to disturb one person being responsible all the time only for children or for another work, and the other one is living on that account. That is not good, you know. You have to really to help develop leadership, whether you are a manager or a partner. Ethics, responsible leadership, very important. Society at large, we are usually and often saying we are responsible also for society at large. Not only for myself, for my company, but for society at large, that I don't pollute too much the society, I mean the environment, that I am taking measures that they don't really damage the society, etc. And then, but of course, the best is to educate great people, responsible managers. This is my mission, and this I'm doing with a big pleasure. And then developing senses that you do with the art, because people need to develop senses for beauty, for the future, for the environment, for everything, you know. Senses is beside knowledge also terribly important. Creative, innovative, I already mentioned, and then to be empathic, to put yourself, to be able to put yourself in the shoe of somebody else and to understand this person better. And when I say what is inspiration, because I talk a lot about inspiration, is a process of being mentally stimulated to do something or to feel something, especially in creative sense. To do something or to feel something, you know. So to be mentally stimulated. That is perhaps good to remember, because you can be very, you know, very well regarded if you are appearing in the company of some people and you talk about inspiration and they say, well, what is inspiration? Because people usually talk about some notions and they don't know what it is, you know, they don't know to explain. And then you can explain. That's why I put it here. And then, you know, here I have two great leaders, Gandhi and Mandela, as an example. And you, because I know that you know them, that's why. And but also here in Europe, we are mentioning these two gentlemen who were really fantastic leaders, unique leaders in the world. I don't think that anybody, any country in the world has a great person like a great Mandela, you know, was. So what was Gandhi? Why was Gandhi an inspiring leader? He was encouraging people, you know, and in his village to use homespun clothing, the village economy was growing. Simplicity, he was not arrogant, he was the most tender, modest person you can imagine. Truth, he wrote a book, The Story of My Experiments with Truth. If you didn't read, try to read this book. Bravery, he was breaking the salt law. He was, you know, protesting against salt tax that Indian people had to pay. And Mandela, I mean, we could talk for hours about these two leaders, but we don't have time. Mandela was dedicated like Gandhi was. He had a great vision of change, and he was very much encouraging. He modeled the way, inspired the shared vision, enabled others to act, challenged the process, encouraged the heart. And these two guys, Mandela and Gandhi, have in common their peaceful treaties for dealing with issues. Peacefully they did it, you know. I was lucky enough, I'm sometimes in South Africa. We have, there are two reasons that I go there. One is the alumni club. We have about 60 students in all Africa, and the club is in South Africa, in Cape Town. And so I went to Robben Island to see the prison cell where Mandela spent, I think, 27 years. And I was, of course, very touched. And there, you know, later we had a lecturer who was talking about Mandela. And this guy, also very old already, he was the one who was in the prison together with Mandela and who was telling us the story, one very interesting story. He said, when we came home, I heard that the wife of the director of the prison at Robben Island died, passed away. And I said to Mandela, do you think that, do you know that she passed away? And he said, please arrange that we go to express our condolences. You know, this was the guy who was keeping him 27 years in the prison, and he went to express him condolences because he felt sorry for him as for a human being, and himself being a real fantastic human being. And that is, you know, he gave this lecture, he gave this example on my question. My question was, you knew Mandela for so many years. Tell me, was he really so much a peaceful leader? Was he really, you know, believing that on a peaceful way you can come somewhere? And he said yes, and then he gave this as an example. So what is art having to do with us and with our lecture and with leadership? Art is communicating, art is inspiring, art is shocking and provoking. Usually you have pieces of art, I mean, every art is communicating. That you can say for every art. But you have some works that are more inspiring, and you have some works that are more shocking, and you have some works that they are really provoking. We have some of these in our school. Most of them are inspirational ones, but also shocking, where you cannot, you know, and provoking, the thought provoking. You are thinking, what does it mean? This black here and red there, and a beard here, and a black cross there, and there is red color, and there is black. I mean, all these questions people are putting. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go more in this, but I can tell you it's terribly interesting. Art and artists are stimulating us to see more. Art is really helping us to see more. You know how long are people looking usually to the one painting? 2 seconds. So you have to look longer to the painting to start to understand something from it. Music is helping us to hear more. You know, visual art to see more. Music to hear more. You can hear in the music where is the harmony, where is the conflict, where is the chaos in music, all that. And then you bring it to the life of a leader and manager and human being, you know, in general. And feel more. When you go to the concert, you are feeling more. You are feeling enriched, you know. But art is doing more than just letting you feel better and fantastic. Art is really helping us to extend our horizons. It is really making us richer, as I said, broadening our skills, our behavioral repertoire, our flexibility of response, you know, how I'm capable to respond on some things. And art is helping us, you know, to develop senses and to touch our creative self. That is very, very, very important. And then you have still, you know, I go further. What are the reasons and the conditions for a success of a leader? It's a global mindset. You know, you have to come out of your village and you have to think differently. You have to understand things globally. And that is also, here the culture becomes very important, this culture of flexibility. Openness for change. Not too many people are open for change, you know. This is a big problem in the society. Energy, you have to have energy, as we mentioned already. Entrepreneurial skills, entrepreneurial characteristic, you know, the entrepreneurial character, I would say. Courage, perseverance. If I think how courage was important in my life, I think this was one of the most important characteristics, because I had to have courage to start the school. You know, people did not understand what is, they said she's importing imperialism, you know. They did not understand in the socialist countries that I am importing, in fact, the professionalism. And then perseverance, you know, this is also one of my best characteristics, I think. Passion, also passion for something. Social responsibility, networking, you see with this, with bold letters, networking. I should talk about that. Agility, how to quickly to adjust to yourself. Resilience, and then the total commitment. These are the characteristics that everybody in the life, whether it's a leader or not, would succeed if you have these characteristics. And now I come to time management, you know. You know what is, I don't have time because this is for one day in the lecture, the time management. But I shall tell you the most important two things. And that is, if you remember this, take a photo of it, you know. If you remember this, whenever you do something, this table, where it's written important, not important, urgent, not urgent. And you try to put your activities in this on such a way as it is here, you will start to understand what is important and what is not important. And what is pretending to be important, you know, the urgent stuff. You have things which are urgent and important on the same time. These are some crises. These are some pressing problems and deadline-driven problems. This is important and urgent on the same time. Then you have important but not urgent. You know what is that? This is usually prevention. This is usually you know, the activities, the relationship building. Nothing what looks to be urgent. You know, it's nothing urgent, but it's very important to do it. To prevenir en français, you know, to take care that it doesn't happen urgent, you know, one day, that you are planning, that you are also recreation having, taking care of your body, your mind, etc., to your health. Relationship building extremely important, nothing urgent, but long term, very, very important, you know. I see that in the school. I was, in fact, building relationship all my life. I do that to get fantastic professors, you know. Otherwise, you don't get them if you don't pay special attention to them. And then you have urgent and not important, you know. And that means interruptions, some telephone calls, some mails, some reports, some meetings, etc. Popular activities, watching TV, doing something which is not neither, you know, not important, but it looks urgent. And that is very important, that you are seeing that for this you should not spend too much time. I shall show you that very soon, because I have another slide for you. And then you have the quadrant 4, and this is not urgent and not important. And so it's some telephone calls, some time wasters, some people who are stealing your energy and you don't have anything from them, etc. And I shall show you now how much time we spent for that and how much we should spend. So when you look to the red and the black numbers under urgent and important, you will see that in fact there is not too big difference between what you do, how you do it, you know, and how you do it is the black, and red is how it should be. You can see that 20 to 25 or 30, 25 to 30, that's not a big difference. Here you will not win too much time. But where you will win is quadrant 2 and quadrant 1, 2, and 3. You see? There, because you see, people are usually spending, you know, on not urgent and important things, they spend only 15% of time. And these are strategic methods. Can you imagine? Imagine you that a doctor would spend 15% of his time to check the health of the people, you know? Not possible. And so the table shows that you should spend 65 to 80% of that, you know, and not only 15. So this quadrant is terribly important. So there you have to change. You have to start to understand what is strategically important for you. Sometimes I go for a meeting, I open the garage, I sit in the car and I start driving. And then I suddenly ask myself, is it really strategic, this meeting where I go? And the answer is no. And I turn the car. It happens to me and I'm teaching this, you know. So this is the biggest problem the managers have. And then, you know, you can see the other quadrants just like that, diagonal. You see that we should, not important and urgent, that we should spend only 15% for that, for these activities, which look to be, you know, very important, but they are urgent. And then you have, again, another one, which is not so important, that is 1%, less than 1% you should use for some unimportant activities. So remember that the numbers above in red show the time should be spent, the ones under, how it should not be. Henry Mintzberg, the famous professor of leadership of organizational behavior, he is a professor at McGill in Canada, McGill University. He was sitting 3 weeks in front of seven managers, not all together at once, but he was choosing 7 managers, 7 business leaders, and he was sitting in front of their rooms and writing down how they spend their time. And he saw that, like, they are changing. Do you know how often their work, every 2 minutes, they are writing something. Then you get a telephone call from somebody, you interrupt. Then the secretary comes and tells you something, you interrupt. Then you remember and you say, I should do that. And you still quickly write down what you should do. This is a mismanaged time. And Peter Drucker said something, you know, the famous professor of management in the world. He said something. He said, very important. He said, time is the scarcest resource. And if it's not managed, nothing else can be managed. And that you should realize. How to spend your time is extremely important. Now in COVID crisis, I spent, of course, mostly on Zoom, but I also took a time, and every week I had 3 hours of Italian language, and I learned Italian, at least something positive, every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30, you know, when the working day is over, I could do it, and I'm very, very happy. This was nothing urgent, but it is important for my future, because, you know, I like to go to Italy, I like to study their literature in original literature, etc., etc. So remember well, put your activities on this table, and you will know what you have to do, and what can you delay, or what can you delegate. And then again, if I ask, how do you ask yourself when you need to be sure whether you delegate or not? Shall I do it, or shall somebody else do it? And who should do it, you know? And mostly people answer wrongly. They say, firstly, I should ask who should do it, who else, if not me. But it's not right. You should always ask yourself, why me? And if it's this strategically so important that it must be just me, then you should do it. So why me? That is the principle. How to delegate, and better to delegate to somebody else is doing a part of your job. Then we have, you know, another skill that was time management, really in short. And then you have, and study the books on time management. Stephen Covey made this table. I had to quote him immediately. Stephen Covey, C-O-V-E-Y, Covey. read his book, 7 Habits of Manager. That book, then he wrote later 8 Habits or whatever, not good. But 7 Habits of Manager is a very good book. And there, if you read it and you start to work at least a little bit like he wrote, he advised, then you will become a very organized manager. Teamwork and the skilled management are the key ingredients of success. Teamwork and skilled management. So we shall say again some words only about teamwork. Team is more than a number of brilliant individuals. And listen up, and team of brilliant individuals can often be less effective than a brilliant team of individuals. You know, you may not, you know, even in our school, we made sometimes big mistakes. You know, we had to create a team who went to work to the company, etc. And this company was so important for us that we were just choosing the best teams, and we had only leaders good leaders, you know, but that's not, must be different profiles. Remember well, look in your marriage, if you are married or partnership, you will see that you are totally different from each other, because in order to succeed, to be together, you have to be different. You have to have the same values, you know, but not to be the same character, etc. So I shall tell you more about that. So, and brilliant individuals are often not team workers. It's very difficult, and especially if you put them together, they fight. That's not a team. So what are the good characteristics of a characteristic of good team? Members have a common purpose. You have to have a common purpose. They depend upon each other for the ultimate performance. They are, you know, like if you go to hairdresser, a simple example, one is washing. If it's badly washed, somebody else cannot make you the good hair. So it depends. All the performance depends on many people who are doing that, you know. They are depending on each other's performance, and they are balanced. And I shall tell you now what it means balanced. This is terribly important. Balanced is that they are different. And how do we discover this on the basis of this little, how shall I call it, you know, measurement of work preferences. Some people are very extrovert and some are very introvert. You know, some are inspired. The extroverts are inspired by big, by mass. Introvert by one. It's like a, you know, they are like in a bottle, you know, closed down. You don't know what they are thinking. You know, they don't tell, they don't talk too much. Then this is concerning relationship. You have introvert and extrovert people. Concerning information, you have practical and creative. People who are on practical way using information, or who make something out of that information, who are very creative. So again, you know, very interesting, 2 different sides. Analytical, people who decide on the basis of analysis, or people who decide on the basis of belief. You know, mostly leaders are deciding on the basis of belief. They must have knowledge. They must have people who analyze behind them, you know, or in front of them. But usually they believe in something strongly, and then they decide. But they have all kinds of teams around who help them to get this analysis, you know. But finally, as I said, they take into account this analysis, but still they decide how they believe. And then concerning the decision making, you know, they are or flexible, and organization, you know, their decision making is flexible or structural. It depends. And I see, like in my marriage, you know, that I am an extrovert person, I am a practical person, I am a belief person, and I am a flexible one, you know, and my husband is just the opposite. We decided to go to the seaside in the morning, then the weather changed or my mood changed, and then I want to go to the mountains. And then my husband is very disappointed, you know. So what do we have to do? We have, in such a case, really decide together before, and to make it so that it's almost impossible. No, you cannot say almost impossible to change, but that it's not likely to be changed just like that, you know. I'm also not like that, changing quickly, but I only tell you that these are the things on where we are different. but we still share the same values. You know, these are just the characters, but the values, we are absolutely on the same wavelengths, you know, concerning the values. That's more important. And so people, you know, they should know their strengths. What I'm as an experienced leader and manager seeing is that people are usually wrong in defining their strengths. You know, and we know that you can perform only of your strengths. I had once a person in marketing and I was very disappointed because there was no result, no result. And then I discovered that she studied accounting in the University of Economics. So that was already, you know, not a direction that would bring great marketeer out. Then I saw all kinds of other things, you know. But she was smiling. She was a nice person, and you had the impression she learned to be communicated. You had the impression that she was good in marketing. But the biggest problem is that she was thinking that she is good, so she left our organization. After half a year, I meet her somewhere. I said, "What are you doing? Where are you?" "Oh, I'm in marketing in another organization." After a year or two, I meet her again in the street. "How are you doing?" "Oh, I'm in a search company. I'm in marketing." And then I said to her, I said, you will change your jobs all the time because you are not in the right place working. You don't know your strengths. And then we talked, and I hope I helped her a little bit because, you know, these strengths are extremely important, and that you are really going from your strengths, and then you add some others. But there is one or two where you are strong. And here are the Belbin is a famous British guy who made 8 management team roles. And these are the management team roles, you know. We can start with 2 leaders, chairperson and shaper. Chairperson is the one who is not too dominant, although leaders are always dominant, but who is saying, you recognize these people on the way how they talk. He or she is saying, we met together to do and to decide about this and this. And then he or she divides the job and so on and so on. The shaper is the one who is saying, if we didn't do that yesterday, we are too late. This is these are usually crisis managers, crisis leader. This is the person who gives intensity, how do you say, intense to, you know, being intensive, who is giving energy to the, he's giving a shape, you know, to the crisis, or not to the crisis, but to resolving the crisis. You know, I would say it like that better. But it's a leader and it's a big ego. It's not such a team worker as chairperson. Chairperson is better concerning that. But sometimes you need shapers to move quickly something further, you know. Plant is an innovator, is planting ideas. That person is not liked by the team. Usually you have only one in the team, never 2 or 3, because there are not too many. And these people don't like to work in teams. So the best is to invite them when you need them, you know. Monitor evaluator is a very critical, analytical person. I have a deputy who is very analytical, you know, and if I didn't know that, I would think that he is lazy or that he doesn't like me or whatever, because he's always saying, oh, we have to check this. And we, you know, everything what I propose, we have to check. And then I'm getting annoyed, you know, but on the other hand, his judgment is rarely wrong. So if I would everything do just on the first, you know, like that, this decision quickly done, then it's not sure that it was always so good, you know, such a good decision. So you have to take into account that. Company worker are people who are usually systematically working. These are executors. If the company has only executors and no other profiles, bad for the company. Because, you know, this is not people from whom you can expect a lot of ideas, etc. Then you have resource investigator. These are people whom you say, oh, I lost my watch. And then they say, or my watch is wrong. Then this person says, oh, I know somebody. So they bring ideas and people in the team. They know somebody. I know somebody too all the time. I'm also typical, you know, resource investigator. And of course, I have some other. You usually have 3 or 4, you know, at least 3. You don't have only one characteristic. You have to know that. And then team worker, these are people who are always interested in other people. They are always asking, how are you doing? How is he doing, etc. Not in themselves. But you know, if you had only team workers in the team would nicely enjoy the atmosphere, but they wouldn't do too much, you know. And finishers are the people who are finalizers. They are very important to finalize the project, to, you know, and to count. These are usually accountants, they are usually lawyers, paragraph this and that, etc., etc. They are all, like plants, quite annoying people. I say sometimes pain in the neck, you know. But again, if you don't have them, you don't have a good project, because they are people of details. So this is very important, to know to bring them together, that you don't have three shapers fight. If you have two chairpersons and one shaper, fight. If you have plants, two plants, three plants, fight. If you have team workers not doing anything, only team workers. If you have a resource investigator, also kind of a fight, you know, because they are also quite vivid people, etc., etc. Company workers, they are like team workers, not too much from them, you know, if they are alone. So the you know, here are the team workers: social capacity, empathy, resource, stable, inquisitive, extravagant, finisher, anxious, controlled. Shaper is a driver, assertive, tense, anxious, you know. Then you have coordinator, leader, this is that chairperson, trusting, decisive, controlled. Planned, ideas person, logical, critical, creative. Monitor, critical, logical, critical, serious, and implementer, doer. This is the worker, you know. There is let me see if I go back, is a company worker. These are company workers. I have another name for them, implementer. These are practical, controlled, and conservative. No new ideas if they are too many together. And then this is the last slide on team building. It is that you have to realize that every life of the team has 4 stages. It's a mature, you have to start with undeveloped team, where people are not interested in each other, where they are not dealing with feelings yet, they are conformistic, they are much talking, little listening, etc. They are hiding their mistakes, and so on and so on. And then you come to second, you know, when you meet already twice or 3 times, you come to experimenting team. That is already better. They are looking how they would work together. They are facing the problems more openly. Then you have the consolidating team, where they are already more confident of the team, not of themselves. They are team becoming really, and they are listening to each other. They try to resolve the problems. They are handling the conflict constructively, etc. And they are learning and developing, like in the marriage, learning and developing. And then you have the mature team, where you become, you know, flexible in approach. You start to become flexible. You start to become more trustful. You are committed to team success, not to your own success, but to the team success. You are, you know, you are capable. You are not jealous anymore. You are capable to say to your partner, I go for a dinner with somebody else, you know, and this partner is accepting that and thinking, great, that's good for her or for him, you know. That it is, you are becoming flexible in approach. You have a good atmosphere in the team. You are also starting to deal with priorities, and you are interested in the outside environment. Before, you are kind of defensive. You are hiding yourself behind the team. But here that is this mature team. And then, of course, the building blocks. In fact, this was not the last one. This is the last one where I repeat everything. Balanced roles is the first key to success. Clear objectives and agreed goals. Openness and confrontation. People think that the good team is when you are not confronting. You have to be open and confronted, of being capable to confront each other with other you know, other truths, other opinions, support and trust. And the main thing is trust in all this, you know. You have to build the trust. And then, you know, you have to, know to deal already with cooperation and conflict. You have to have a good procedures in the, you know, sound procedures in the team, how the team should work, appropriate leadership, regular review of the work, individual development, solid intergroup relations with other groups, with other teams, and good communication. That is very important. But of course, about each of that, I could talk for an hour, which will happen another time. Perhaps, you never know. So, and then we have the last skill that I wanted to talk about. This is our terrace, and there is the castle above there. You know, what is networking? Here, I shall spend next 10 minutes before I finish this lecture. Networking is creating a fabric of personal contacts which provide support, feedback, you know, that you get a critical information from somebody about your behavior and about your work, etc., about your achievements. It's insight, it's resources, and it's information. For me, information is the most important. I shall show you that. So all the world, in fact, is a system of networks. Networks are individual and group relations. The problem is how to become a part of a relevant network. There is no activity where is networking present, not present. And even if you start the smallest business, you have to discover that everything is networking. So read the book, Never Eat Alone. And then you will understand everything about networking. We have three sorts of networking. Operational one, that means in the company, in your working place. There, it helps you that operational, there you are cooperating at work, making it more efficient, you know. There you are trying to accomplish the immediate task. Then you have the personal networking, and that is the most important one. That means that you are through professional associations, through alumni groups, through clubs, through you know, different interest you know, groups, etc. You are trying to achieve your goals. Alumni is like our very important network, and it's largely external. And then you have a strategic one, which is perhaps the most important, but you will immediately see why I don't push so much for it, because this is plugging an aspiring leader in a set of relationship and information sources. You know, that is plugging somebody from a very important club or group is bringing you in that group. So this is like you are building on leverage, you know, you are suddenly becoming a member of the group of Peter Drucker. I mean, Peter Drucker passed away, but, you know, I became, because I went to visit him and we became friends and he came to lecture to our school, etc. You know, I was lucky, but I was courageous. And I went to the United States, etc. Or Muhtar Kent, Coca-Cola president. He, after we met, he gave us Coca-Cola chair, etc. So, you know, for that, you must be very experienced already to be able, so that you don't, because you have to take care of not being aggressive. You have to do it on the right way, so that you are like George Soros, you know. I was very much, in fact, doing for him. He asked me to go to judge how his money was spent in Russia and all that. You know, I did a lot for him, free of charge, of course, etc. And then one day he came to visit us, and I wanted to show him the school, beautiful school. But then he was just having a big conflict in the car before he came out of the car, and I heard him shouting in the car, etc. He came, he had a glass of water, and I did not say come to see the school. I just went with him to the lake and I said, go for a walk, I shall sit here and wait for you. And I think that was the best impression I could make on him, because I understood him and he needed peace with himself, you know, for himself. So strategic networking is really where you are reaching the set of other relationships. But the personal networking you can really do with not too many efforts. You only have to be there, being there. And that is for women 10 times more important than for men, because men are always there, or mostly there, but women not. Women have always something else to do. So this is, you know, here it's written, strategic networkers use indirect influence, convincing one person in the network to get someone else who is not in the network to take immediate action. So this is when you ask for favor, some people to help you, you know, and you can see these three orange strategic networkers they are in. Every level of networking from local to global demands some essential features, such as communication skills. You have to be communicative. You have to know to give first, and only then to expect to get something back. And you have to have a lot of energy, you know. Then, you know, this is a learning process. And women are stronger in communication skills than men. So I'm surprised, why aren't we then better networker? You know, because we are not there. We are too modest. We are thinking, oh, I don't fit there in that group or whatever. Everybody has some reasons probably, you know. So building a network is not a one-way activity. It's understanding the interest of people around you. It's thinking all the time, what can I offer to people, you know? And it is ownership, challenge, gratitude, learner. You have to be able to show them your gratitude, you know, and you have to be able to offer them something. They can learn from you. You know, you have to provide something. You have give and take, you know. And when building up a business, the most important is your first partner. Remember remember that first partner. Here on this picture, I have 3 foreign professors, you know, from IMD Lausanne, who are my professors, you know, and then one brought the other one. And then next to me, standing on my right side, is standing Riccardo Ili, the Ili Cafe. Probably you have in your countries also Ili Cafe. He's the president of group of Ili. And with him, I'm for many years friend already, for many years, you know. And that is, he knows president of Italy, etc., etc. So whatever I need, I ask him. And he helps me from his network, you know. Here are our alumni. So making a network is a big effort, but maintaining it is even a bigger one. Maintaining it is a request to write a card, to write a letter, to write an email. But as thousands of emails are written every day or received every day, I would go better in a card or in a letter from time to time. Handwritten, you will see what a success you will have. Something different, you know, you have to do something different. And you have to perform well, to innovate regularly, to stay an important element in the networks that are relevant for you. I knew very well Ambassador of England here in the left side. This ambassador was getting the idea that Queen Elizabeth would be a proper guest in our school. So he arranged that. And her husband, your late husband, you see there is in the middle of him, and the Queen is our alumna. There behind are Slovenian presidents of the companies whom I invited for that party with Queen to, you know, we had a lecture firstly, and then they were listening. She was visiting, I mean, they were staying like that, and she was shaking hand to everybody. I was telling about everybody some words. She exchanged some ideas with them. It was really a very nice meeting. And then, in spite of electronic technology, personal contacts are indispensable. Do you see me here in the black trousers? That's me. Quite some years ago already, and my husband, we are dancing at the organization Siemens, where we have every year annual meeting, and we are every year dancing. And you know, last year when we had COVID, and we were, I mean, we still had COVID recently, but last year September conference happened online. And you know what I did? I also wrote to everybody, take with you all the dancing shoes, because we shall dance. And we were having an orchestra here out of Slovenian studio. We were transmitting the music, you know, the vivo, in vivo, the orchestra playing a very good one. We were dancing there in front of the, you know, camera, and the other guys in Russia and South Africa, etc., were dancing at their places, and we had something in common. So that is, you know, I always say, bring the high touch through the high tech to make it again high touch. So in spite of all electronic technology, personal contacts are indispensable. Remember that. And remember also that if the existing network does not offer you the tools for development, choose another one, or create your own one. That's very important. Don't insist in one network if it doesn't have a meaning for you. You know, meaning is extremely important thing also, you know. So try to make one. I shall never forget the story. I met, you know, I had a teacher in my school, a nice lady, and then one day she left. She went to another university to teach, and one day I met her in Ljubljana, and the capital, and I asked her, how are you doing? And she said, I have to tell you something. When I listened once to your lecture on networking, and you said, if your network is not offering you the development, choose another one. I left my husband and I chose another one. I was thinking, Jesus, what did I do, you know? But of course, this woman had big problems before she heard from me that story. But it was kind of encouraging her, you know. And then, of course, this is really my last slide, where I'm telling you some most personal advice, you know, which comes from me personally. And that is, never make compromise on quality as a leader, on quality and as a human being, of course, and ethical issues. Never make compromise. Whenever I did it, I was 10 times sorry. So I do it very often, you know. I'm tough on quality and ethical issues also. Dedicate your time on things that are meaningful for you. Even if you are young, you have to, you know, mostly people become wise when they are 50 plus, you know, then they start to think about meaning of life, because life is getting shorter and shorter then. But I would suggest to you, take care of this meaningful life before. Be ready to share the contacts. Give and take. Remember, give something and take. Stay in touch with your peers, you know, with your people from the school, with your people from your network, women network, etc. Stay in touch and support each other. Women should much more support each other than they do. And they should not be so modest. Can I do it? Can I really do it? Yes, you can. You know, Obama said, yes, we can. Ask for advice if you have doubts. Follow intuition for new contacts. You know, with whom to be together. And stay proactive, loyal, and stay interested. You know, don't, you know, many women make a mistake when they marry and get children, then it's over, you know. They are not anymore fighting to stay interested. And here is my big thank you for your listening to me. And I'm greeting you once again from this beautiful place to your beautiful place. And I look forward perhaps to see you, to meet you once in real. Thank you. And perhaps one day I receive you in my school at a doctorate program or at an entrepreneurship seminar or the young managers program in the summer, whatever, or to have just a cup of coffee together or a glass of wine also. We have a great wine here too. So thank you, goodbye, bye-bye, and good luck in your life and in your career, and never give up. You can do it. Thank you.